Okay, and then we have two lectures left to go. This one, this is Chapter 14, Professional Sport Leagues Beyond North America. So sport transcends borders, we know that, a global product. Professional sports comprise much more than what North Americans may think of. The North American way of organizing and managing is not the only and certainly not the best way. Several levels of sport governing bodies exist. Differences from North American professional sport, relationships to other sport governing bodies, how they do promotion and regulation, and player movement systems. So first, there's football or soccer, depending on where you're from. The Federation International Football Association has 6 regional organizations. Each nation has its own football governing body. Example, the Confederation of North, Central American, and Caribbean Association Football. It's a lot of letters there. The U.S. Soccer Federation is also Major League Soccer, which is growing in popularity in the United States. There's also the Premier League and the J League. The history of the Premier League was, which is in England, was founded in 1992 when football was in need of restructuring. A separate business entity from the nation's football association, and it currently attracts players and fans from all over the world. So what's their membership? The teams themselves, which are owned by 20 total shareholders, they have their promotion and regulation. Bottom finishers in the league drop down to the lower level the next year. I think that's pretty innovative and kind of cool that they do that. So basically, if you had 15 teams and you finished 15th, you had to move down a level. You couldn't compete. You couldn't win the championships the next year. So I think that's kind of innovative. I like that. In your textbook, when describing the system in which teams with poor records are moved to a lower league, the authorities hypothesize that you may exclaim, "That sounds crazy." What do you think of this system? Is it crazy? What, in your opinion? Do you think that poorly performing teams should be demoted this way? Could this work in North America? I don't know if it could work in North America. I think people would, maybe the Sabres should go down to a lower league. Who knows? So some growth areas: women's professional sports as well as esports. What are some policy issues? Fighting racism in football. There's been some very well documented cases of players being attacked with racial slurs, and it just shouldn't be. Security issues and the potential impact of Brexit, which is still being determined. Racism, incidents by football fans. They formed FAIR, Football Against Racism in Europe, and Unite Against Racism was also developed. So in your opinion, what more can be done to prevent racist incidents, whether in European football matches or North American sporting events? Maybe stiffer penalties. I'm talking spectators here. Bannings definitely, I think, are in order. Security, there's been stadium and arena attacks, not only of sporting events, but other events. For example, the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester. The potential impact of Brexit would affect transfer fees, it would affect work permits. It also it really illustrates the entanglement of sports and politics, because right now players from Britain can move freely through Europe and vice versa, but with Brexit, if you don't know what that is, it's Great Britain voted to leave the European Union, and it's going to make everything harder for the teams. So what are your thoughts on the interconnectedness of sport and politics? Do you agree with measures such as boycotts, or feel that they must go on, despite what is happening in the country where the events take place? For example, the Olympic boycotts in the 80s, protests of Chinese human rights violations in 2008, and the same in Qatar in preparations for the 2022 World Cup. Okay, one more chapter to go.